Welcome to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. Over the next half an hour, we'll be looking beyond the business headlines by giving you in-depth perspective on the stories that are affecting all of us. Coming up on today's show, the UK's annual rate of inflation jumped to a 40-year high in April, the highest level recorded by an industrialised nation since the start of the global price surge last year. Labour politician and former Mayor of Hackney, Susan Jumoke Fajana Thomas, will be joining me in the studio to discuss her party's plans to combat the country's spiralling cost of living crisis. And will Britain's famous West End be able to recover from the COVID-19 lockdowns? That's one of the questions I put to Sir Alistair Spalding, CBE, the CEO and artistic director of Sadler's Wells. I'll be bringing you that full interview shortly. Then later, Anna Kabale-Dubert was announced the winner of the Global Nursing Awards, bagging $250,000 in prize money. She'll be speaking with me about what this win means for her local community in Kenya. But first, let's have a look at a topic that's dominated headlines here in the UK this week: the Northern Ireland Protocol within the Brexit withdrawal agreement. Boris Johnson's government announced that it was seeking to overwrite parts of the post-Brexit deal with Northern Ireland to appease unionists who are not happy about remaining aligned with the EU rules. The Prime Minister is now coming under intense pressure to publish the legal basis for plans to override the deal, with the EU suggesting any amendments would lead to an all-out trade war and the potential to disrupt the historic Good Friday Agreement.
I am announcing our intention to introduce legislation in the coming weeks to make changes in the protocol. Our preference remains a negotiated solution with the EU. And in parallel with the legislation being introduced, we remain open to further talks if we can achieve the same outcome through negotiated settlement. I've invited Vice President Šefčovič to a meeting of the Withdrawal Agreement Joint Committee in London to discuss this as soon as possible. The bill will put in place the necessary measures to lessen the burden on East-West trade and to ensure the people of Northern Ireland are able to access the same benefits as the people of Great Britain.
Earlier, I spoke with our business correspondent Simon Pusey for some analysis. Simon, Brexit back in the spotlight yet again. It seems like Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the government are going to find it really difficult to appease both sides. On the one hand, the DUP not happy with the protocol. On the other side, if he tries to tamper with it, he is going to really mess up international relations and the EU agreement.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation, really. And this is also a deal that he fought so hard
oven-ready
for.
Deal.
And yeah, exactly, advocated so strongly, and now he's trying to go against his own deal. So yeah, he's coming from attack from all sides here. As you say, the DUP are saying they're not going to go into this devolved government. They're not going to continue with the government unless these arrangements are changed. So he flew to Belfast earlier this week, and yeah, everyone disagreeing with him, really, what he's trying to do. The EU saying that this would open up a trade war. Lots of things would have to change that would negatively impact the UK. But yeah, Northern Ireland, you know, the peace deal there has been such a stalwart for so many years, and lots of people worried that this could affect this. So it's really hard, and Liz Truss is trying to, you know, rewrite the Northern Ireland Protocol. She came out on Tuesday and said that things need to change, but no one's really going along with this, and there doesn't seem to be a middle ground that the Prime Minister can really win on this. And
what are some of the concerns?
Well, if we can take, you know, let's take the main one, really. Could this split up the UK? You've obviously got the Scottish Independence Party taking lots of seats at the local elections recently. That kind of indicates that maybe another Scottish referendum might be on the cards. And then you're looking at Northern Ireland and the problems there. And, you know, there was lots of trade restrictions there, and stories a couple of months ago of, you know, food running out in supermarkets because of these trade barriers. So it seems to be mainly trade issues and a lot of red tape at border crossings, things like that. But yeah, the government really being hammered by this, and recently Liz Truss comments she made in 2019 talking about Brexit only affecting a few farmers with turnips in the back of their trucks, and so she's come under a lot of criticism because of that. And it seems like they really didn't take this Brexit thing seriously when they were campaigning for it, and obviously a lot of people talking about their own personal gain. Boris Johnson kind of decided last minute that he was going to be pro-Brexit because he thought it might help him be Prime Minister, and here we are talking about it. So it's a really difficult and sort of thorny issue really for the government, and one that is quite hard to get your head around if you're an ordinary voter, but it just seems to be something that obviously obviously is very important to Ireland and Northern Ireland in particular, but I think for most people it's kind of just more hassle for the government really, and I guess a distraction and taking away from the cost of living, inflation going up even further recently. I think people would look at that in the UK or in England, Scotland, Wales, look at that and say, the government isn't really taking this seriously because you've got this whole issue of Brexit, which is very hard to understand. Obviously, for Irish people, they want it sorted.
Yes, they do. Thank you, Simon. Let's change gears now. The UK's multi-billion-pound theatre industry was brought to a standstill during the COVID-19 pandemic, and even since the lifting of restrictions, many workers within the sector are still facing the threat of job losses. Many productions have been forced to close. Recently, the theatre veteran Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber faced a wave of criticism over the last-minute cancellation of its Cinderella production, and there are fears that this is the sign of things to come. Earlier this week, I sat down with Sir Alistair Spalding, CBE, the CEO and Artistic Director of Sadler's Wells, for more on this. So Alistair Spalding, thank you so much for taking out your time to speak with us on Channel's Business Global today. And I must say, I've been desperate to get out of the studio, and this is a marvellous theatre. Yeah. Really, really nice. Let's just go straight into it. I did read a headline in The Stage last week which read, "Theatre sector may have to shrink to cope with current crisis." Is this the reality that you're facing at the moment?
Well, Sadler's Wells is doing pretty well. I mean, the COVID crisis really hit us hard. It's almost 2 years of closure. It was like a storm hit us. And I guess what we're looking at now is what happens after a storm. What's left? What is there that you still have? We have a lot. We have still a theatre. We got through that period with some help from the government here in the UK.
Late help.
Late help, but it came and enabled us to keep going. We had to cut numbers in the staff, so when we came back to full occupancy, the big question was, were people going to come back into the theatre? And for Sadler's Wells, luckily they are, because they're 70% of our income. So that's been very important, and people have been dying to come back and enjoy the thing we do, which is show dance from around the world and make dance for everyone. So that is working. So we feel like we're coming out of it, but there's lots of other pressures. Inflation is going up, our bills are going up, the funding's still really in a decline, particularly for London. So it's not easy, but we feel as though the main thing is that the main part of the thing we want to do, which is just show work to an audience, has survived.
You're an artistic director, so I don't think this question will be difficult for you, but the majority of our viewers are in Nigeria. Could you paint a picture, Sir Alistair, of what has happened to the theatre industry? I think people know Oxford Circus, people know, the West End and theatre shows. That's kind of, if you're, not from here, that's what you think of when you think of London. But it has had a major impact, hasn't it?
Oh, totally. I mean, the commercial sector really did suffer because we got help from the government a little bit. The commercial sector didn't get any. And it's a huge part of London. It's a huge part of London economy. It's the centre of musicals, so Broadway and the West End, that's what theatre is all about, and the exchange between the two. So, again, they're going to it's taking a little while to come back because the tourist trade is also not happening. So people haven't been coming back into London as quickly as we thought they might. So that's really, really difficult. But having said that, there's a great spirit in the theatre world, and even in the West End, that's reviving. The musicals are opening again, and people are flocking back to them. So, it's going to be a tough couple of years, I think, getting out of this, but we're hoping we'll get back to where we were, which was a fabulously rich world of every kind of musical, theatre, dance work that you can get anywhere in the world. And London was a place where everyone wanted to be and to pass through at some time. So we want to get back into that. It's going to take a little while.
The cost of living, huge issue. We're expecting inflation data this week to show that it could potentially be at double digits, way above what the Bank of England want. Yeah. Are you concerned, taking away kind of tourists coming into theatres, whether people or not can afford theatre?
Yes, of course, that's another worry. So is it going to be? It's discretionary. You don't have to go to theatre, or do you? I think some people really do need to go to theatre. They need the cultural aspect of their life, And some people actually prioritise it over other things, believe it or not. But still, it's true. You know, it's going to be harder for people to enjoy things. So we try and make sure here that we have a range of ticket prices. So when people can afford it, they can pay top price. But we always have at least 150 seats at the lowest price, which is £15.
Do you get to see the stage?
You do. They're really good seats.
Yeah.
They're at the top of the house, but they're there. Yeah. We also have a fantastic scheme run by Barclays, or supported by Barclays, for young people, up to 30. So young is up to 30. And that's £10 for any ticket. Well, you know, you could pass. Yeah. So up to £10 for up to 30. So again, it's a way in for young people to come for not even the price of a cinema ticket. So we try and make sure that we cater for all pockets here. So we'll see how it goes. The main thing though, energy. Theatres use a lot of energy. It's going to double over the next few months. So we're a bit worried about all of that, but we'll try and make it work.
Yes, another domestic issue is the labour market. Record high number of vacancies at the moment. Yes. It's difficult for most sectors to find skilled workers, but then because of the cost of living, a lot of staff are saying, I'm just not being paid enough. And Bectu, the union, is saying that theatre workers are not paid enough, overworked, undervalued. Yes. Is that true? And do you believe that it is feasible to increase prices, particularly for leading women who apparently have left the sector in droves recently?
Yes, I think you're right. That's one of the things that's happened in COVID. A lot of people who were working, particularly in the technical side of theatre, decided to do other things. For example, go into the film industry, which pays better. And I think this is going to be a big issue going forward. And in order for us to keep the talent in the workforce, we've got to keep the resourcing going within the sector. That includes government money coming in. So we've got to make the case to keep supporting, because people aren't charities. You know, we're a charity as Sadler's Wells, but people aren't charities. They can't keep giving, even if they love what they do. And so we have to fight to do that, and that's going to be a struggle over the next few years to keep wages, at the pace of inflation, and to really attract people into jobs where they could do the same job across other sectors of marketing, digital work. You can do that anywhere. We're hoping that the theatre is still an attractive place to be, but it's going to be an issue, definitely.
Yes, and you talked about government funding. Nadine Dorries, the Culture Secretary, not popular with everybody, but what are your ongoing discussions with her department, and also as well Sadiq Khan? I know he was in New York. I believe there were some photo ops with Broadway. Anybody who travels on the tube in London is always seeing flyers saying, come out, go to the theatre, go and see London. Yeah. Is that enough, or could more be done?
Well, I think we do have to promote what we do. We have to have the government promoting what we do and supporting it. There is an issue with London, outside London at the moment. We understand that there has to be some levelling up. We wish that we weren't being so hard hit. There's a possible cut coming to London to enable more levelling up. We want to make the case for London as well, because I think,
Does the case have to be made?
Well, it seems so. It's because we leverage the money. We get 9% of our money from the government. The rest we earn from that 9%. That's a good deal. That's because we're in London. We get good audiences. It's easier to fundraise. But so we need that 9% in order to make that happen. So we're making the case on that front. Also, we're building another theatre in Stratford, in East London, which the mayor has supported very strongly, and the government have as well. And that really is because Newham and the boroughs around there in East London are some of the most deprived in the country. And so then the levelling up has to happen on London's doorstep too. Yes. So we're making all of those cases, and we are very, very committed to enabling people in those boroughs around the Olympic Park, where the theatre is, to enjoy culture in the same way as people living in Islington or other more wealthy areas. So, we're trying to make that happen. So we're hoping that's all aligned with government policy, that the mayor's behind that as well, and that we're going in the right track. But these cases have to be made over and over again. It's true. You have to keep saying and telling people what you're actually doing.
It's Alistair Spalding, CBE, Artistic Director and Chief Executive of Sadler's Wells Theatre. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to chat to you.
Thank you. Coming up on Channels Business Global, Labour politician and former Mayor of Hackney, Susan Jumoke Fajana Thomas, joins me in the studio to discuss her party's plans to combat the cost of living crisis. And Anna Kabale Dube has been announced the winner of the Global Nursing Awards, bagging $250,000 in prize money. She'll be speaking with me about what this win means for her local community in Kenya. All this after the break. Welcome back to Channels Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. The cost of living crisis just won't go away, and the fallout is causing significant concern to families living up and down the United Kingdom. Data released earlier this week by the Office for National Statistics revealed that inflation hit a 40-year high at 9% last month, and it's those on lower incomes who are feeling the worst of the country's current economic turmoil. Labour and other opposition parties have been demanding that the government take immediate action by backing a windfall tax on oil and gas giants, but Conservative MPs rejected this suggestion alongside moves to force the Chancellor to back an emergency budget. Well, for more on this topic, I was earlier joined by the Labour politician and former Mayor of Hackney, Susan Jumoke Fajana Thomas. Susan Jumoke Fajana Thomas, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here in the studio again. It's been a long while, and at least I can congratulate you at your victory in the local elections. I did see on social media you had the likes of Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, out with you during the campaign, as well as, of course, your friend and close colleague, Diane Abbott, the first black female MP in the Palace of Westminster. Can you tell us about the new portfolio you'll be covering? And also, could you speak more widely on the great success of British Nigerians at the local elections?
Thanks very much, Juliana, for the congratulatory and goodwill message. It's been an absolute joy that we had a successful election. It was a good election, my fourth term. Wow. And not just about me, and I think this last election, regardless of what some of the media houses are saying around the Labour Party, my party, we did very well. And many black and candidates from black community and the global majority did very well. In my borough, we now have 5 British Nigerians in my borough alone, and we got our first Ghanaian ever and Somalian heritage in my borough. So I'm very glad that happened to many of us within the Labour Party. Not just within the Labour Party, other parties as well saw an increase in the numbers of British Nigerians elected in the last election 2 weeks ago. I'm glad that the leader of my council, the Mayor of Hackney, put me back as a cabinet member. So my portfolio is quite wide. It starts from strategic relationship with the police, fire brigade, any policing issues, crime reduction, licensing, violence against women and girls, public surveillance, CCTV. It's quite a wide portfolio. Community safety is safety at home, on the street, at work. So it covers anything you can think about safety in all those areas.
So you are going to be a pretty busy woman, and I didn't realise 4 terms. That is something to be applauded, and you deserve all those plaudits there. Got to talk about the cost of living. We've been talking about this extensively on Channels Business Global, and we've also been speaking about it on Channels TV. But for our viewers who are in Nigeria, can you paint a picture of just how serious this issue is and how it's affecting your constituents in Hackney?
I think the cost of living crisis is, as it said, is a huge crisis, and it's impacting everyone because the 3 main areas of food prices, energy prices, and household or prices. They've all gone up. For instance, just to bring it to reality, about this time last year, a pint of milk is like between 41 pence, but now it's gone up to between 50 and 52 pence. So that's been an increase of over 20%. And that is not just it. Energy prices, everybody need to cool, you need your household, you need to heat your home, and that has gone up as well. You see many households now are now paying probably again in comparison to this time last year or 2 years ago from about 1,250 pounds per year for the energy bill is gone up to like 20,000 or 2,000. That's an almost increase of 54%. That's huge. In my borough, sometimes we victims of our own success, our proximity to the city. In fact, there was a time in the last 5 years that the highest house prices was in Hackney. Yeah. And in the last 5 years, we have seen about 75% rises in house prices in Hackney. Having said that, we're not a borough of millionaires.
Absolutely.
We've got middle income.
There are some.
Yeah, there are some. We've got middle income, low income, and benefit claimants.
Of course.
And so
priced out, aren't they?
So it's while rich household can absorb these changes, it is difficult for household where budgets are already tight.
It is difficult, and that's why I want to talk about what the Labour Party want to do. There's always a big confusion, Susan, about the Labour Party and your stance on certain issues. Some say, you know, you're just opposition for opposition's sake, that we never hear any concrete policies of what you would do to change the situation. We know the Chancellor must do more. What more can he do?
We're not just opposition. I think Labour Party have put quite a few suggestions forward to this government, is that they're not responding to that. The leader of my party have called the government to actually have a windfall tax to energy company, where they can use that windfall tax to cut household bills from with about 600 to 1,000 pounds. But the government is not doing that. The government went ahead and increased the NI contributions. This is not the time to do that. People need more money in their pocket to be able to get to the supermarket and do their shopping, not taking from them. Or organizations such as the tech, that is a bit controversial, but I would be saying the tech company. We know what happened during the lockdown in the last 2 years. These guys have made a huge amount of money, billions of money. Yeah. Those people should be doing something as part of the supporting the economy, supporting people, but the government is not listening.
Susan Jumoke Fajana Thomas, Labour politician, thanks for joining me on Channels Business Global.
Glad to be here. Thanks very much.
Now to our final topic. Anna Kabala Dube from Kenya has been announced the winner of the Global Nursing Awards from Astor Guardians, bagging $250,000 in prize money. She was competing against more than 24,000 nurses from 184 countries. I'm glad to say that she joins me now from Marsabit County in Kenya. Just tell me what this win means, not just for you, Anna, but for your entire community and beyond.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Anna Kabale Duba. I am the nurse from Marsabit County Referral Hospital, Kenya, who has recently won the Astor Guardian Global Nursing Award. The win means so much, not only to me, to my local village, or even to Marsabit County only. It's a win for Kenya, for Africa. There are so many applicants. We are like 24,000 globally, but we have made it to top 10 globally. And finally, I was announced the winner. I'm so happy that I made it to the final winner, and it's not an easy task. I think apart from being a nurse, what made me stand out was the community work that I do back in my village about the education and women empowerment and girl child empowerment. We also champion against harmful cultural practices like female genital mutilation and early marriages back at home.
Congratulations and thank you for taking a couple of minutes out to speak to us today. Thank you, Anna. Well, sadly, that's all we have time for today, but as always, do get in touch with your comments and suggestions. I'll see you at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis.